Stone Podcast.
I can't see where you coming from, but I know just what you running from. And what matters ain't the who's matters, but the ones who stop you falling from your level.
Coach Stone Podcast number 14. I want to thank everyone for listening to the Coach Stone Podcast. I want to thank JC Hawks Radio, JC Hawks Sport Networks. Remember, if anybody wants to visit my website, CoachStoneFootball.com, for all my blogs and podcasts and my free PE games and any books that I have out now with the Big Four, or my new one, Back to the Basics Football Drill Manual, coming out soon. You can go there and visit it. You can also listen to all my old podcasts and new podcasts. They are on iTunes under JC Hawks Radio. So before I introduce my first guest, I want to go over the run of the show. We're going to have a game plan. We're going to start with a pregame with our guests talking about themselves. We're going to have a kickoff question, first drive question, get some water at halftime, come back out after halftime, do a kick return question, second drive question, 2-minute warning, then the game's over unless we do have overtime. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Steve Sloan, president of Tackle Tube USA, on as my next guest as Coach Stone Podcast number 14. Coach, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. Coach Stone, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good. I'm doing great. Hey, we just recently met. I mean, like, not even what I would say, like a couple days ago, right? We just met for the first time. And I want to thank you for a couple reasons. One, I want to thank you for, going to the Western New York Amateur Football Alliance where I was a keynote speaker, and you were able to speak to over 100 and I would say 180 to 250 coaches around there that were there. And I think it was a great opportunity for young youth football coaches to see your product firsthand. It was my first time, to be honest. I've seen plenty of tackle tubes, and we'll get into it in a little bit. But the first time I saw yours, I was really sold on. I don't know if you noticed I wanted to be your partner. I wanted to demonstrate with you. I mean, I was like a little kid in the candy store, right? For any football coaches that have these tubes, we'll talk about what makes Tackle Tube USA different than the other tackle tubes that you might get later on in the podcast. But I thought that was awesome, and thank you, Coach, for doing that. If you're ready to go, Coach, I'm ready to go. Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready to go. But I also want to say thanks for helping me on that. It was fun to show a little technique, and we like to spread as much education as we can. So I appreciate you helping and you allowed me to tackle you in front of all those coaches.
We could definitely. I can post a couple pictures on my website, Coach Stone Football, where you are tackling. I did do it on my social media, but I thought it was awesome. And I think a lot of the people that listen to tonight's podcast, they're going to hear you say different terminology I've never heard before. Like, I was pretty impressed. I'm not going to steal your thunder right now, but what we'll do, Coach, is we'll go to your pregame question. Let's do this. Tell us who you are and everything like that. So it's pretty much a bio on yourself. Go ahead. Shoot, Coach.
Sure. Yeah, like you said, Steve Sloan. I'm in Lakeland, Florida. Been here all my life. I've been coaching football and baseball and basketball for over 30-plus years. I actually started right out of high school as an 18-year-old coaching high school baseball and youth football, and except for a few years when my wife and I were having babies, or she was having babies, I was along for the ride. But except for a few years of that, I've been on the field or the court in one way or another. So I've always owned my own business, but that allowed me the freedom to coach middle school, high school football. The last, couple dozen, probably 15 years been high school. So, but just enjoy doing that. Married, 4 kids, just loving life. God is good.
And could you do this, Coach? If somebody wants to look at your product, because here's what I would do when I'm listening to a podcast. Once you say that website, I'm like, what's your website, Twitter, if you guys have Facebook, Instagram, what's all that stuff?
Yeah, real simple. The website is tackletubeusa.com, and all of the social media, the YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, is all under Tackle Tube USA. So real simple, tackletubeUSA.com.
Perfect. And did you have an email address? Like, say someone doesn't have it right now, but they want your email address. Do you have an email address I can contact you at?
Yep, you can email me at steve@tackletube.com.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Okay, so what we'll do, Coach, is there's the whistle. We're all done with that. Let's go to the kickoff question. This is the question now. I remember we were talking this weekend about it because after, like, you remember I'm picking up the tube, squeezing it, sitting on it, doing all that stuff to it. Do me a favor. Where did the tackle tube come from? And if you don't mind, how did you get hooked up with all of it, if you don't mind telling everybody?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like a lot of coaches. We all saw that Seattle Seahawks tackling tape, and I first saw it back in 2015. I also have a mission that I do. It's called American Football Mission Team, where I coach American football in Brazil. So when I made a trip in July of 2015 to Brazil, I actually implemented the shoulder, the rugby style tackle over there, and it just went great. I was sold on it. I'm like, man, this just makes too much sense. So when I came back, flipping through social media and stuff, I saw this tube going across the screen. I'm like, what the heck is that? So started doing some research and found tackle tube, which was being made in England. Found another company in Australia making a version of it. The tackle tube looked the best, the website looked the best, so I called the guy up, and come to find out, the gentleman that invented this back in 2009, his name is Glenn Ribnett. He's a professional rugby player for over 12 years, born in New Zealand, has played all over the world, lives in England now. You know, I was actually going to just build them myself, and because it just made too much sense when I saw it. I'm like, you know, we're a moving target. We're not beating up on each other. You know, we're going to hit this, and we can teach the technique. It's perfect. But as I got to know Glenn and talking with him several times, he's a tackling guru. And one of the things I wanted to do with this business was not just sell stuff, but be able to educate and coach and to make a difference in the game. With all the concussion, everything going on, and I wanted to make a difference in the game by working with coaches and players. So that's kind of how it all first started. We actually got our first shipment in April 2016, and from there we've been shipping tubes all over the country, into Canada. We've shipped to 49 states. I think Wyoming is the only state we haven't shipped to, and if there's a coach, I'll do this. If there's a coach listening today from Wyoming, the first order I get from Wyoming is going to be free shipping. How's that?
Whoa.
That way I can get all 50 states.
So you heard this first. I want everyone that's on a podcast, if you know a coach in Wyoming, Coach Sloan said free shipping the first order. So whoever the first order is, you contact him first, and we're going to timestamp that, right, with an email or phone call.
Absolutely.
First order, free shipping, and then he hit all 50 states. That's awesome, Coach. That is great. Okay, so before we go into the next question, Coach, because I know we have a couple more minutes before the whistle blows, you know, so your tackle tube itself, right, we're not going to get into, like, how it differs or anything like yet, but the question I have for you is this. With the tackle tube, like, you were over in Brazil, you just, like with me, I fell in love with it when I first saw it. Was that what you saw? Like, you just like, ooh, I got to get more of this, or what were you thinking?
Well, when I was in Brazil and we were installing the rugby tackle and working with it, it was actually when I got back to the States, and I'm just looking at social media and stuff, and I just happened to see, I mean, it was literally a 10-second clip of this rolling across the screen, and it just hit me immediately. That's perfect for teaching shoulder tackle, for rugby tackle. That's the perfect idea. And the video I saw, they weren't even tackling it, but it just hit me. Wow, this is perfect. So I started looking it up, trying to find it. So that's kind of where that came from, because I knew immediately that this was the perfect tool.
Awesome. Perfect. Coach, with that being said, there's the whistle. What we're going to do now is this. First drive question. First drive question is this. I've seen, and you know, I know you're the president of the company, right? But I've seen a ton of these. I've seen tons of these tackle tubes, like you were saying when you first saw them. And you started this April of 2016, and you already have 49 states, and you have a couple different countries. What can you tell our audience? What makes it different than all the others? What does your tackle tube do that the others don't?
Sure. One of the great things when I mentioned working with Glenn Remnant, he did a ton of research on this. There's a reason it's 37 inches. There's a reason it's 10 inches wide. There's a reason the center is white. There's a reason it has handles on it. Everything has a purpose. The size of it, the weight of it, the density of the foam, the different densities of the foam based on whether it's a senior, a youth, or a junior. There's a reason for all of that. There's, I think, roughly 8 different companies, not counting some side people making it, but 8 main companies, I think, that are actually making them. They're all a little bit different. They're all a little, some are heavy, some are skinnier, some are big and soft and fluffy. There's a lot of different ones, but what makes us different is not only are we the original, but I think the R&D that went into making this was huge. I think a lot of the companies just decided, hey, we can make a buck and we'll make a few of these, and they're different. So I just encourage, anytime I talk with a coach that's, they'll say, Steve, I'm looking at different ones, this or that. I don't want to down. I'm not going to down anybody. Of course, I think mine's the best, but I'm not going to down anybody. So I always encourage people to make sure they look real close at when they're comparing. I've had just this past weekend 3 different people tell me that they're going to be purchasing ours, and they've had other ones in the past. So there is a difference. So be very careful. Do your homework. I'm always available to answer any questions. And like I said, the other big thing that makes us different too is not just the good product and the quality, but we're educating coaches. I travel all over the country doing clinics, just like this past weekend in Buffalo, always wanting to increase the education, because this is such a profound tackle, such a good tackle and a safe tackle. We're getting the head out of, to the backside, not the front side, making it safer for the players. But the great thing is, it's not just a safer tackle. You take someone down fast without giving up yards after contact. It's just amazing tackle. So we really pride ourselves on teaching technique, not just selling stuff.
Got it. And here's the other thing too, for the audience listening. I'm going to tell you right now, Steve and I, we stood next to each other. I'm a little taller than Steve, right? I'm a lot thicker than Steve. But Steve, Steve's a big guy too. But he brought me down like nothing. I'm not, I kid you not. He's like, he just clipped me on the knee and he showed how he did his technique, and we'll talk about that later. But like when he described it to the youth coaches, it's like a light bulb went off with me. Like I just told him, I'm like, ooh, I got to get one of these. And and Steve and I talked this week. We had to do a 3-way call, right, Steve? We had a customer on the line, and he's like, hey, if Coach Stone likes it, I like it. Does that make sense? And Steve's like, oh, okay, how many do you want then? But I thought that was funny. So, Coach, do me a favor. You have senior, youth, and junior tackle tubes. What
Correct.
is the difference with those?
Okay, the senior tube is kind of designed for 160 pounds and up. Your high school players, college players, NFL players. The youth is designed for anything from that 160 pounds down. And the junior is designed for like age 8 and under. It's a little bit smaller tube. It allows them to get their arms around it so they can really squeeze and do that ring of steel. But the other cool thing is the difference in the youth and the senior. They're the exact same size. They're 37 inches. It's just the difference in the foam. The senior's 19 pounds. The youth is 12, 13 pounds. But they can still be interchanged a little bit. So if you've got a 170, 80-pound kid, you can still hit the youth one. So they're interchangeable a little bit there. So I'll really try to work with the coaches to make sure we're getting the right tube for the right age group. That's always a big question. So I like to make sure they're getting exactly what they need.
The biggest thing, too, is I for the audience listening, I really fell in love with the tube when I was there. And when I posted on social media, I was shocked that Coach Sloan, myself, and another person, we did a 3-way call this week, and I was and he said to Coach Sloan, hey, if Stone loves it and he endorses it, it's pretty good. So, and the guy's like, I'll get a couple of these for a future camp coming up that I'm actually speaking at. And I think it's going to be great. But the biggest thing, I don't know if you remember this, Coach, when I picked up the first one, I forgot which one I picked up the first one, I was like, whoa, this is a lot lighter than the other ones I've had. Where all the other ones, it's like trying to pick up like a 50-pound weight, it felt like, you know?
Yeah.
With your pad, there's that, and then the cushion, or like however you have it, you don't have to tell everybody because we don't want them to steal your idea, but it's like it retracts right away. Does that make sense? It's not one of those ones where you sit on it, or if you squeeze it one time, then it loses its foam. It's kind of like, remember the old Bowflex? Remember they had those Bowflex bands where you could work out all the time? Well, eventually those bands break down. With your foam, it didn't seem like after we were tackling it, beating it up for at least an hour, it didn't even phase it, if that makes sense. And I thought that was really cool. I liked about that product, your product.
Yeah, it's a good solid foam. It's not like a memory foam or anything like that. And you know, immediately when you tackle it and stand it back up, it's ready to go again. You don't have to wait for the air to suck back in or anything like that. It's ready to go again. And I'll address the weight situation. There are some out there that are heavy, and the thing that you have to remember what we're trying to do with it. We're trying to teach technique. We're not trying to toughen kids up and make them hit a heavy bag. That's not it. But the other cool thing about the weight, too, is we can use it in so many different positions. Tackling is the main thing. That's what it's made for. But there's some great running back drills, gauntlet drill, drive-through drill, you know, the defensive line, you know, with a punch and rip. And there's just so many. I mean, there's drills for every single position on the field that you can use it.
And we're going to go over that. Wait, we're going to go into that, Coach. Don't do that.
Okay.
I don't want people to get too excited. Yeah, I don't want people. Cause that's the thing I was going to say. That's the one thing I like when you were there with the coaches. That's one thing I like. You the first thing you said is, you know, this is a tackle tube, right? But you could use it for so much more. So if you don't mind, if we could just wait a little bit. The one thing I also want to tell people is your PowerPoint presentation that you had this weekend. I'm going to tell you right now, it was great. You had NFL people. I think you had a couple colleges in there, a couple high schools doing the actual game film of showing them and doing your techniques that you're talking about that we're going to talk about a little later. But I thought your PowerPoint was really awesome. So I do want to commend you with that too. So for this weekend of the Western New York Amateur Football Alliance. You know, and also Coach and I, we were able to go afterwards and just talk football and stuff. We had our One Buffalo, and we kind of chilled and relaxed. For the people that were there, Tim, Jerome, and Bill, they know what the One Buffalo is. If you're ever in Buffalo, make sure you go have a One Buffalo. They're phenomenal. But with that being said, Coach, there's halftime. We're going to go in, let the band come out. We got 3D coaching. We're going to have U.S. Army Go Army Edge app to do a commercial break. And then after those two commercial breaks, we're going to have a Big Four for my book that came out back in September. Remember, if anybody wants to visit my website, it's CoachStoneFootball.com. But right now, Coach Stone Podcast 14, we are in halftime. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. What legacy will you leave as a coach? The three-dimensional coaching framework empowers coaches at every level to fulfill their transformational purpose by helping them become fundamentally sound, skilled at coaching the mind, and focus on developing the heart. Are you needing to take courses to meet professional development or recertification requirements? If so, check out the different online 3D coaching course offerings at 3dinstitute.com. You can even take the 3D coaching course for 3 graduate credits. Make sure you use the coupon UNITEALL to save 10% on your entire cart. That's UNITEALL, no spaces, all one word, at 3dinstitute.com.
The Big Four, a physical education book written by Coach Anthony Stone, can be purchased through the following locations: Amazon, iTunes, BarnesandNoble.com, and Kobo.
Go Army Edge Football is a free game-changing app that allows coaches to draw their plays with X's and O's like on a whiteboard, and then get the mental reps from the first person's perspective of any position on the field with real-time 3D graphics or virtual reality. Go Army Edge football comes preloaded with many example plays and drills for concepts such as formation recognition and RPO reads. Any coach in any system can benefit from demonstrating in Go Army Edge football, and every player can become a better football player with extra reps in the app. Go visit them on their Twitter or Facebook. Insert at Go Army Edge.
Brunch, $30.
Hey, that's okay, Wendy. That was a good carry. You're still the man. You're the man.
Latte, $4.
Shake it off, Johnny. Rub some dirt on it.
New piano, $3,000.
All right, guys. They're not saying boo. They're saying movers.
Supporting your team. Priceless.
It's all right, Bobby. You still got the best arm in the neighborhood.
There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard.
This is VCAP, right?
We're back from halftime. Coach Stone, Podcast 14. Coach and I were talking about some drills and things like that. So, kickoff return question. We're going to add two things. One, I said this earlier, and you were talking about it. The one thing I loved about your presentation, your tackle tube is just not a tackle tube. You were talking about running backs, receivers, all those other things. And I thought it was cool. You even made a drill where it turned the tackle tube into a one-man sled. I thought that was pretty cool, too. So the question for this question then, and, you know, for our viewers, I'd like to post this on the podcast, a link below the podcast. Do you have any videos on those drills? And if somebody, and it's a two-parter, so I apologize, if someone wants to invite you out, Coach, just like the youth organization did just recently, how do they go about doing that? So if that's okay, we have a two-part question. Do you have tackle videos and other videos? And also if somebody would like to have you invite you out to come and demonstrate like you did this weekend.
Yes, sir. Yeah, there's a ton of videos, both on the website and all the social media, YouTube. There's one very, very good video that we did. Glenn was actually here from the UK, and we did kind of an overview of the rugby's tackle, the shoulder tackle, and just some good information in there. There's a couple key techniques that not very many people are teaching that you can pick up from that video. And then what's great is once you see that video, then you look at our progression videos, and they're like 1 minute apiece. There's 7 of them. Then you understand why we're doing those progressions the way we are. We've also got 11 more getting ready to come out through USA Football. I'm excited about that. We've remade some of the progressions and then added a few. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff there, and we've got more coming. Spring ball started this week in Florida. I've got some kids that we've been doing some private lessons with that are some D1 players that we've really been working, and they've improved tremendously. So I'm excited to get some film next week at their practices and their scrimmages to see the difference and what a difference that's made.
Awesome.
Concerning the clinics and things, yeah, they can just contact me through email at steve@tackletube.com. I'm happy to go wherever we need to go. Like I said, we've been to Buffalo a couple of times. I've been out to La Mesa, Texas. We've been into New York and the Bronx. We've been to New Jersey, Pittsburgh. I mean, we've been all over. So I'm happy to do clinics. But here's what I always try to do, though. I don't really like doing just player clinics because if the coaches aren't there to back it up and continue teaching it, it's really kind of a waste of time. I really want to work with the coaches. And then if it's a 2-day type thing or we've got plenty of time, then we'll get the kids out on the field, and I'll use the coaches that we just went through the clinic to do the install of all of the different drills and the circuits that we put together for practice. The drills are literally just endless. I did a clinic in Savannah, and we went 4.5 hours on just tackling.
Wow!
So I mean, it's limitless what we can do. But yeah, if they'll just contact me, we'll work out the details on that. I'm very cheap. I'm not I'm not trying to get rich at this. I'm just trying to make a difference and make this game that we love so much a lot safer.
One thing, you talk about your drills and your progression, and we'll go about that a little bit later in the podcast. The biggest thing I really liked is what you did is, about all your drills. You had that one. What was that one where you threw the pad at me and I had to catch it against my ear?
Yeah, it's just called a neck squeeze drill where
neck squeeze drill. I really like that one.
Yeah. And what that does is two things. When we're making this tackle, kids have a tendency to look away, and when you look away and you open up that neck area, that can be a problem if you get hit wrong. So by throwing that at you, and there's video of this, online as well, and you grab it and squeeze it. Now you're squeezing your neck, and you're not squeezing it so far that you're going the other way, but it's helping you actually keep your neck in line and keeping it straight. And you're just using one hand. So yeah, that's a great little drill, and it's quick and easy to do.
And the other thing for the listeners you need to understand, and like Steve and I mean, Steve, well, we met on Saturday morning, right? Like I was setting up as a keynote speaker, and you came up, shook my hand real quick, and I was like, and then the Buffalo Bills, the Tim Jerome started, Buffalo Bills spoke, I spoke, then USA Football came out later in the afternoon, and then you took over and like went over the fine tuning the hawk. I don't know if they call it. It's a hawk tackle. Is that how they say it? Or
no, it's actually a little bit different than what Seattle's doing. There's a couple things different.
What did you call it? I forgot. I'm sorry.
Well, USA Football likes to call it a leverage-based shoulder tackle. It's a shoulder tackle, but I don't care what you call it. It all comes from rugby. That's where it comes from.
Correct.
So,
right, exactly.
they've been doing it for over 100 years, and they're pretty good at it. So,
awesome. Really quick. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, I was just going to say, pretty much the name everybody's using right now is a shoulder tackle.
And here's the other thing for you youth programs. Okay, if you are a youth football coach and you are teaching that near shoulder tackle or rugby tackle or hawk tackle, like Steve and I were talking about this over the Buffaloes, you could name whatever you want. It still comes out to the rugby tackle, right?
Right.
I recommend you definitely get a tackle tube. Okay, look at it, check it out. Like Coach said on this podcast, there's like 8 different companies. If you need to buy one here and buy one there, I would recommend that. But like what I noticed when I've seen all of them, I mean, I think I've seen every single tackle tube there is. I was very impressed with just everything about it, the foam, material. I literally was punching it. I was doing stuff. The other thing, too, I really liked about Steve is it wasn't just a tackle tube. Like, you had drills for what? Running. Okay, Coach, I don't mean to do this to you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. You had drills for defensive players, right? What else? You had running back?
Both sides of the ball. We've got drills for every position.
So you got every position. Every position you have something is for. So, and I thought that was really cool. And the one thing that I saw it for, too, and I know Coach probably says, we already do that, but using that tackle tube where the quarterback would throw it through a window. I know it's not as big because it's like, 10 inches, I believe?
16
I think, I don't know. Yeah, 10 inches. You're still, 16. By still throwing it through there, it's pretty good. And it's pretty accurate if you can do that. And that's just a fun game the quarterbacks can do and things like that. But I thought that was phenomenal, Coach. And thank you for answering those questions. I'm sorry for talking your ear off, but I really liked it, that you broke it down and everything like that. And we definitely will get into technique a little bit later in the show. So with that being said, there's the whistle. We're going to go to a commercial break on Huddle. When we come back, we're going to do the second drive question. Huddle is a leading software company revolutionizing the way coaches and athletes prepare and stay ahead of the competition. Go to @HuddleFootball on Twitter or go to www.huddle.com/football for more information on Huddle. All right, Coach. We're done with commercials. I'm not used to commercials, Coach. I'm just used to that whistle. I know you said, man, Coach, you blow that whistle into that phone. Yeah, and, I thought I don't have a loud voice, but people say I do. But, yeah, I actually do blow that whistle. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. It's a special effects, right?
There you go.
So here's the thing I really liked about you, too. You're not just a tackle two place, right? You're tackle two USA, but now you have your new equipment coming out. I really liked it. I was playing when I saw it. I was like, hey, oh yeah, that looks awesome, Coach. What is that? I was a little boy in the candy store. I know that we're talking about this new item that you want to come out with soon, with the help coaches with holes, techniques, and lines, and gaps and everything. But can you tell us about this tech pad? Because I really liked it, and it was phenomenal how you did it. So please, I don't want to steal your thunder. Go ahead, Coach.
No, yeah, the tech pad's been great. What it does is combine two pads into one. It's 40 inches long, so you can lay it down, use it as an agility pad, a step over pad. But you pick it up, and it's got handles on it. You can also use it as a shield, but it's a very unique shield. There are grooves cut from top to bottom that the only way that you can get your hands on it is thumbs up. So your hands are tight, your elbows are tight, and you're punching with your thumbs up. Traditional pads are flat across the front, and it just doesn't allow you to block with good technique. Or even on the defensive side, when you're doing your get-off moves, all you can do is punch with your palms. This lets you punch with your thumbs up, drive, and rip off. And so it's very unique in that. And then we put the grooves from top to bottom, so there's, so you've got plenty of room whether you're hitting lower or higher. It's not just like one certain area or one small pad that you can hit. The great thing is, or the funny thing is when we were prototyping it and testing it, I had a defensive coordinator, Shannon Benton here at Frostproof High School, was using it, and he's a defensive guy. And I called him up. I said, Coach, tell me what you think. He said, oh, man, we love it. We're doing all our get-off moves. It's a great pad. I said, well, what's your offensive line coach think about it? He said, I don't know. I ain't let him use it yet. So we got a lot of defensive guys using it as well. Lakeland High School here has it. Another Palmetto High School is another one here locally that I've been using to get some feedback from as we were prototyping it. Lakeland Christian, let me throw them out there as well. They helped me out with some as we were building the prototypes. But no, this is going over really well. It's a fun pad. It's a lightweight pad, only weighs 6 pounds, but yet it's got some good foam in it. And so yeah, it's going real well. We're real happy with it.
Now, the one thing I liked, and I don't mean to steal this, Coach, from you, but what I liked what you did was when you brought those tackle tubes over, you kind of put the tech pads in between, like a what did you say, a sword through the like a donut, like how you had the donuts, the rolls, the rings. Mm-hmm. You put it like through the tackle tubes right between them, so you stuff them in there. So could that help with shipping costs? Like someone says, "Ooh, I want like 3 tackle rings."
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So explain that. Could you explain that to our audience?
Yeah, because
I don't think I explained it right? Because I'm kind of hungry right now. I'm donuts and I'm hungry.
No, what we try to do, I used to own a trucking company, so I hate paying for shipping. So I try to pack things the best I can. So anytime we get an order that comes in with, if I can get 6 tubes on a pallet. Well, if I can get 6 tubes on a pallet, I've still got room that I can put 2 or 3 other items in there, in the hole, slide those down in the hole. So if we get an order where there's a combination of tubes and tech pads, a lot of the times, on the website, it's set up individually like that, right? But I'll go back and adjust the pricing to cut the shipping back down. Because when I can combine that brings the shipping costs way down. So anytime I can save somebody on that, we'll go back and give credit back to, because I'm not trying to make money on shipping. And if I can save some people some money, I mean, it might be $50-$80. Well, that they could have, they may want to put that towards another pad.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I'd much rather them have the pad than pay the shipping.
And we were talking about this when I saw that for the first time. I was like, I'm like, ooh, what is that? What is that pad over there, Coach? He's like, oh, go check it out. And I saw it said Tech Pad on TackleTubeUSA on there.com. The one thing I really liked about it is you can run over it like a running back. You can use it to get off, like you were saying, with receivers, linebackers, anything. You can use it for O-line drills. It's literally, like you said, and I think you said it already once, it's a half round and a shield combined.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I loved about it, and I don't know if you remember this when I told you on Saturday afternoon, is it's lightweight. And
Mm-hmm.
like the other ones that I've seen like that are not like that though, but other ones that have made those things like they're like barrels and stuff, those things are extremely heavy. This thing, how much does that pad weigh, the one you have?
It's only
pad,
6 pounds. Yeah,
how
only
much?
6 pounds.
6 pounds.
Well, I wanted to make it to where the players could hold it and move with it. I mean, if you're thinking, we've got a receiver working on a stock block, and I can put this in the cornerback's hands, this forces that receiver to get his feet right and get his hands right. So, and I wanted that cornerback to be able to move. So yeah, it's lightweight, and it was made that way on purpose.
Yeah, and I really like the tech pad. I mean, the tech pad looks really good. What I'll do, Coach, is when we get off the phone, if you can email me a picture of the tech pad and 3 of the things, we'll make sure that it's on that website, on my website and on the podcast website, so people can see it firsthand, that stuff. So that's
absolutely
awesome. I can't wait. And then the thing that we're going to do, we're not going to spoil anything, but Coach and I, after talking over some buffaloes, creating something to help with line techniques, gaps and holes for, all ages and things like that, especially for the youth level.
You're right.
So let's do this, Coach. There's the whistle. We're at the 2-minute warning, Coach, okay? So, I can't believe we're almost done with this. I have so many more questions, okay? Seriously, I might have to beg you for overtime. But let's do this. This is the time of the show where you give your 2 minutes words of wisdom, and then we'll either call it or and I'm going to tell you this, Coach, we're having overtime. This is the first podcast. I've had 14 podcasts. We're doing overtime because I want to talk about a couple technique things that you do.
Sure.
And I'm going to tell the people, down is down, everybody, and boxing is awesome when he talks about it. So, Coach, the floor is yours. 2 minutes, words of wisdom, and then we're going to go to overtime.
Sure. One of the things that I've noticed over the last 2 years is when I'm watching some of the high schools practice, once a week they'll do a 10-minute circuit on tackling. And a lot of the coaches they'll do their drills, they'll check the box off, well, we worked on our tackling. But there's not really a lot of coaching going on. They're just going through the drills. And I really try to encourage coaches to spend 20 to 30 minutes a day working on some form of tackling, whether it's just footwork or whether it's actual head position. All of the different details. When you micro down the technique and work on the fundamentals of it, it makes a huge difference. I've had 2 coaches call me in the youth organizations that have given me stories that one guy out in California, he said, Coach, we use these things every day. We spend 30 minutes, and he's coaching 10-year-old or 12-year-olds. He's got 90-pound cornerbacks. They'll scrimmage against their 14-year-old team against 100, and he said they'll tackle 165-pound running backs with no problem. They had no head injury, neck injuries, no concussions, nothing. And he said it's built so much confidence in their players. I had another gentleman from Philadelphia call me, 10-year-old team. He bought 2 of them, called back, ordered 6 more, and he told me why he was ordering them. He went back to his organization, and all the other guys, we're old school, we're not going to do that. Well, his team proceeded to only give up 24 points last season. So they're all like, okay, we want some tubes now. So he called me back and ordered 6 more. So, but I really encourage you as a coach to make the commitment, spend 20, 30 minutes a day, every single practice on some form of tackling. There's some things that you can mix in, with other drills, but be specific on what you're doing. It'll make a huge difference, not just in the safety, but in how much better your team tackles.
That's awesome, Coach. That's phenomenal. The biggest thing is, like I always said, I said this past weekend, if you have a team that tackles well, you're going to be very successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But we'll do this, Coach. We're not going to do a whistle. We're going right to overtime, okay? And I apologize for keeping you on longer. I promise I'd get you out. But let's do this. can you please just go through your progression, if that's okay, or you don't have to? But can you go over the down is down technique, the boxing technique of how the Tackle Tube USA, how you guys do it with tackling the rugby tackle?
Sure. Well, let's talk about a couple things. I won't go through every single step of the progression, but that'll take a little bit. But the boxing hands that you're talking about, we have taught for years that we're going to pull our 6 guns and we throw our elbows back and we shoot our arms up. Well, for the fit tackle, we're still shooting our arms up. We're going low to high with our arms, and you still need to learn that. I'm by no means telling anybody that this is the only way to tackle. You've got to learn the fit tackle as well. But personally, I believe this is 70-80% of your tackles should be this rugby style tackle. But the hands, if you keep your hands above your elbows, it does a couple things. One is it'll limit how much you drop your elbows back behind you. Because if we're in a boxing match and I pull my elbow back, the other guy's going to hit me before I even make a punch. But if you watch some professional rugby players, their hands are in front of them, their hands are above their elbows. And when they go to make a tackle, they're shooting both hands straight out. I hope I'm explaining this well, obviously on a podcast and not visually here, but they're shooting their arms straight out. And the other thing is we're doing a jab instead of a hook. If I do a hook, and I worked with a kid last week on this where he was throwing his arms out wide like he was going to make this bear hug. But when I got him shooting his hands straight out, he made a couple tackles and he got up off the ground. He's like, "That is so much faster, Coach." I said, "Yeah, it is. It's a lot faster." So that's the hands. But then the other thing you were talking about was in the fit tackle, we're getting down low, we're going low and high, too high. With the rugby style tackle, we're hitting down and we're going to get lower. So we're going down and lower, or however we want to word that. But because when I'm making that hit and I'm punching with my shoulder, I'm chopping that back leg, which I'll go over that in a second, and doing that ring of steel, I'm hitting and taking you down. It's a quick tackle. You don't give up extra yards after contact. One of the techniques that we've adjusted this year is we basically call it chopping the knee. And if you watch that video, the demo video that I was talking about from January, it will show it in there. That has made such a difference with some kids that I've implemented the shoulder tackle last year. They've had a season of it. As I was working with them over the last 7 weeks, we adjusted that and chopped. So now, let's say I'm going to go same foot, same shoulder. I'm hitting with my left shoulder, and I'm stepping with that left leverage foot. Well, my right hand, as I make that punch, I'm chopping the knee. It's kind of like, how you could be walking down the hall and when you were in school and someone would come up behind you and kick you in the knee and make your knee buckle. It's kind of the same thing. When I punch and then chop at the same time, it does a couple things. One, the running back can't move. I mean, his legs he's going to lose his legs. But the other thing is it forces my hands and my arms together, so now I can squeeze and get that ring of steel. And that's vital to holding that man down. And, I've had coaches say in the past, I don't like tackling this way because we don't get a chance for a fumble because we're not hitting up high. We're not biting the ball. We're not putting our head on the ball. Well, actually, I believe you've got a bigger chance of a turnover here because if I've got confidence that my player is hitting down low, he's got that ring of steel, the guy's not going anywhere. Well, if I've got your legs wrapped up tight and you go to fall down, what's the first thing that happens? That elbow's going to come out.
Yeah.
Well, when that elbow's come out, now the ball's exposed. So the other thing we have to do is we have to teach tackler number 2, you're going after the ball. Because the tackle's made. You've got confidence in your player that he's doing this right. Now, when that elbow comes in, you're going after the ball. And number 3 is going to come in and scoop and score. So, those are a couple little things. The other huge adjustment that we've made is in our leverage step. We work on, whether you call it a swoop step, a breakdown step, a leverage step. Last year we were doing this big wide step. Well, the problem with that big wide step is you don't have as much strength. When you shorten that step, when you shorten that up, it does a couple things. One, it gives me more strength to drive through, but the other thing it does is if that running back cuts back, if I'm in a big leverage step, I cannot move my back foot quick enough to catch him. If my feet are closer together, more in that 6-8 inch step, as he cuts back, now it's easy for me to step back to him and cut him off. So that's a couple big changes not big changes, but a couple changes that we made that are showing big results. Mm-hmm. And so very excited about that. As far as some of the other drills, but we don't just go out with players and start rolling it, letting them tackle it. Okay, we're going to start in the progression with what we call a dog tackle, where you're down on your hands and knees, and then we'll put your hands up off the ground and just go on 2 knees. Then we'll do what we call a thigh and drive, where you're on 1 knee and you're just driving with that 1 leg. And then we'll stand up and do a leverage step, a 1-step or a 2-step. We'll do all of those things, plus there's a couple of little ones that we do as well, shoulder punch and things. We do all that before we ever start rolling it. And then when we roll it, we're going to roll it slow to begin with. And I always take the helmets off, because if they wear that helmet, they're just going to face plant it, and they're not going to put their head where it needs to be, which we like to say cheek to cheek. My face cheek to the running back's butt cheek. We're putting our head on the back side. So by pulling that helmet off, when we roll that too, if they face plant it, they're going to feel it. So it makes them take the right angle to get on the back side. Does that make sense?
That makes good sense, yes.
Yeah. So we always do that, and then from there, there's a plethora of drills that we do. With the linebackers, we'll throw the step overs out there and make them go over the step overs, and we'll roll left and right. With the defensive ends, we'll set 2 tubes up. We'll have him read. We'll either roll it. We can actually curve the tube and make it turn upfield because of the size and the handles. So we make them do that, or either we'll go the opposite way and make them chase down. One of the drills I love is with the free safeties and the cornerbacks. We'll line them up. They'll take their read steps. I'll be 6 yards back. Now I'll roll it up a certain gap, and we'll say, okay, the right cornerback, you're making the tackle. The other 2 are just flowing to the ball. Mm-hmm. And then they'll tackle it. They'll line right back up, and we'll do 3 reps right in a row, and each one of them will get a tackle, and the other ones are moving to the ball. But like I said, we'll work all the different angles. And with the handles, you can zing it pretty fast. You can. I guess maybe we need to put it on the clock and see if we can get a 4.4 with it. But you can zing it. But you can zing it pretty good. So it really helps the players from a speed standpoint to get a true speed as they're working on their angles.
That's awesome. That's great. And then the one thing that you talked about earlier about shooting the hands, so the audience knows this, because you're not like you were talking about how you explained it. Like how I say when you block a punt, right? You're running. You don't bring your hands into the holsters at all. You just bring them straight out in front of you. So if anybody's like thinking about that, it's just you're just bringing your hands straight out in front of you. You're bringing it's like you're sucker punching. You're like jabbing that person, but you're jabbing with both hands, and you're just getting it out there right now and getting a hold of them. But Coach, those are awesome, and I'm going to tell you right now, Coach Sloan, I wish would have been able to talk for 3 hours, because I was able to talk for 2.5 as a keynote speaker. But I would love an organization just say, hey, you know what? We want Coach Sloan, we want Coach Stone to come do a back to the basics tackle tube stuff camp. We just do it together. If you want to do that, Coach, I hope that's okay. If you want to do that, give us a contact. And Coach and I, we were talking over the Buffaloes, and it was awesome. It was a phenomenal time. Very, very well knowledgeable with all the different drills from every position. So, Coach, what I like to do is say thank you very much for your time and everything, and I want to thank you for being a guest on my show tonight.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me, and it was great to get to know you a little bit this weekend, and looking forward to working with you in the future.
Yes, definitely. And we got those drawings. We've been drawing back and forth of this for you for that new equipment. What I want to do right now is this Coach Stone podcast number 14. I want to thank Coach Steve Sloan for being a guest. I want to thank JC Hawks Radio, JC Hawks Sports Network. Remember, if you ever miss an episode, you can listen to them on iTunes or Stitcher under JC Hawks Radio or JC Hawks Sports Network. And I'll leave my audience with this. Always remember instilling confidence by laying a foundation. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Coach Stone Podcast 14.
Coach Stone Podcast.
I can't see